All right, friends, let me take you through this chilling story. It begins in 1977 in a town called Baras, where we meet a man named Kemal. Kemal is in a dark place because the girl he loves is about to marry his older brother, Hassan. Feeling utterly betrayed, Kemal is consumed with rage and swears revenge. In a fit of anger, he tears up his brother's photo. But that's not enough. He's determined to win back his girlfriend, no matter the cost. Desperate, Kemal seeks out a witch. She tells him that he can have his girl back, and his brother will die. But there's a catch. If Kemal marries her, their first child must be sacrificed to a jinn by the time the child turns 7. She warns him that if he breaks this promise, something terrible will happen, though she doesn't know what. Blinded by his emotions, Kemal agrees. The witch works her magic, and soon enough, Hassan dies in a tragic accident. Kemal marries Khadija, his love, and for a time, life is blissful. They even have a son, Salim. As Salim's 7th birthday approaches, Kemal's anxiety mounts. He doesn't want to sacrifice his son. Worse yet, Kemal begins seeing the ghost of his dead brother, Hassan. The apparition warns Kemal that if he fails to keep the promise, both he and Khadija will face ruin. Yet, Kemal, defiant, refuses to yield. Then one day, while Khadija, now pregnant again, is resting at home, Kemal takes Salim to a tree deep in the forest. Salim, confused, asks why they're there. Kemal, trying to reassure him, says, "Even if you die in this life, you'll be reborn and we'll be a happy family again." With that, Kemal does the unthinkable. He sacrificed his son to the jinn. Overcome with guilt, Kemal also couldn't survive. When Khadija finds out, she's devastated, screaming in grief. At this point, we fast forward to 2022 in Istanbul, where our new protagonist, Zainab, is telling her friends about the nightmares she keeps having. These nightmares are intense, and she has no idea when they'll stop. One of her friends gives her the contact info for a woman who practices witchcraft. Later, Zainab gets in an elevator, which suddenly starts to shake, and the lights go out. Scared, she switches on her phone's flashlight and sees a little boy in the corner. It's Salim, the boy Kemal killed. He says to her, "I've never met you." Freaked out, Zainab screams, and just like that, the ghost disappears. But this isn't the last of her eerie encounters. The scary visions keep coming, so she decides to see a psychiatrist for help. When she tells her husband about all this, he brushes it off, calling it a figment of her imagination. He suggests she just stick to her meds and everything will get better. Zainab, frustrated, snaps at him, saying, "If you can't understand my problem, who will? Just leave me alone." The next day, Zainab asks her friend to help her find that witch doctor. She eventually finds the woman, who's old and in a wheelchair, sitting near a fire. The old woman's son asks Zainab, "What did the boy in the elevator say to you?" Zainab tells him the boy said he'd never seen her before. Then the son asks if Zainab has ever seen that boy anywhere. She says no. He then asks if she believes in the supernatural, explaining that belief is the key if they are to help her. Zainab says she does believe. The old woman's son brings Zainab to his mother, placing Zainab's hand in the old lady's, and tells her to look into the old woman's eyes to uncover the secret hidden in the depths of darkness. The old woman's eyes change, and Zainab freaks out a little. The son explains that someone has been praying for Zainab, and that's why she's been protected from these evil forces. But the person's strength is fading, and Zainab needs to find them before it's too late. Zainab tells her husband about this new revelation, but like always, he dismisses it. He's got a work trip coming up and invites Zainab to come with him to relax, but she turns him down. That night, while they're sleeping, Zainab has another nightmare. This time, she sees the old woman and Salim. They're whispering to each other, but suddenly they both scream, mouths wide open. Zainab wakes up, terrified. Then we're taken to an old house, filled with photos of dead family members. Inside, we see an elderly woman, chained at the wrists and ankles, shakily walking around. The next day, Zainab's husband heads out on his trip. Meanwhile, Zainab's friend calls to tell her that the old witch doctor has died in a gruesome way. Before she died, the witch told her son that the answers Zainab is looking for can be found in a village called Baras. What does Zainab have to do with Baras? Don't worry, friends. We will find out soon. Desperate to end her nightmares and visions, Zainab decides to go there. She drives to Baras and arrives late at night. In the village, we meet a woman named Hanifa, who wakes up when a table near her breaks on its own. Meanwhile, a man named Visol shows Zinab to an old, once beautiful house. Zinab asks if anyone still lives in the village, and Visol tells her that only 4 people remain, as everyone else left for the city for work. He points out the cemetery nearby and explains that's pretty much all that's left of the village. Then, he asks why Zinab has come. She lies, saying she's a journalist here to write a story. Before leaving, Visol warns her not to go upstairs, but of course, Zinab can't help herself. She goes upstairs and is about to pull back a curtain when suddenly her husband calls. She lies again, telling him she's staying at a friend's house because she was scared to be alone. After the call, the scene shifts to a different part of the village, where a man named Nazir shows an elderly woman a mirror. He accuses her of causing suffering and death with her curse, saying, "Now, you'll feel the pain you've caused." Back at Zinab's place, she tries to sleep but is awakened by the sound of footsteps. She turns and sees the ghosts of everyone who died in the house, and they're coming closer. Panicked, she runs outside and encounters all sorts of strange sights, like witchcraft symbols. She keeps running and stumbles upon an old house. Inside, she hears a woman's voice, the same elderly woman who's chained up by Nazir. The voice says that everything is being done to torment her. Zinab runs into the forest, where she comes face to face with a tall, dark figure. She's shocked and wakes up from her nightmare. Visol checks on her, and she tells him about the figure she saw. He warns her not to go out at night because of wild dogs in the area. Determined, Zinab goes back to the old house where she heard the voice, filming the area as she explores. Suddenly, a woman appears, yelling, "What are you looking at? Time's running out. Go there." She points to that house, but Zinab is left confused about what it all means. Soon after, Nazir also comes there and confronts Zainab, asking who she is. She sticks with her story about being a journalist, but Nazir warns her to leave quickly because the area is dangerous. Later, we return to the elderly woman in chains. Turns out she's Khateja, Kemal's wife from all those years ago. She was originally married to Kemal's brother before Kemal had him killed with witchcraft. And Nazir? He's Khateja's younger brother. Khateja begs Nazir to free her, saying she can't handle the torment anymore. She's constantly haunted by the ghosts of her dead husband and children. But Nazir refuses, leaving her to suffer alone. And that, my friends, is where things really start to get intense. Zinab hears a noise from upstairs, and when she goes to check, she sees a picture where a ghost is standing behind a girl. She hears another sound and turns back, but the picture has disappeared. Suddenly, there's banging on a nearby door. When Zinab goes to check, a hand pulls her into the room. She turns on her flashlight and realizes she's surrounded by ghosts: Kemal, Hassan, Salim, and Kemal's parents. Shaken, she takes Kemal's family photo and later asks Visol about it. He tells her that his mother had shared many stories about this family. Kemal and Khateja were in love, but Kemal's older brother, Hassan, also liked Khateja. In those days, the elder brother married first, so the parents arranged for Hassan to marry Khateja. After Hassan's death, Khateja was married to Kemal. The couple was happy for a while, but one day, Kemal ended their son Salim's life and then took his own. At the time, Khateja was pregnant and she started communicating with paranormal beings, or jinns. When the baby was born, it lived only a few days. Both Salim and the baby were buried together. Zinab asks what happened to Khateja. Visol explains that Khateja practiced dark rituals for selfish reasons, which led to Hassan's death, Salim's death, Kemal's death, and the death of her second child. Khateja was responsible for all these deaths. One day, she disappeared, and the villagers couldn't find her. Visol's mother says Khateja was punished by the jinns for her misdeeds. Kemal's parents also went mad due to all the tragedy. Kemal's father ended his wife's life and then took his own. No one from the family survived. Zinab decides to visit Nazir. His wife Fatima is also there, but Nazir sends her inside. When Zinab asks about Kemal's family and the big abandoned house, Nazir gets angry. He warns her not to investigate or dig up the past, or she won't survive. Fatima wants to speak, but Nazir stops her. That night, Khateja is haunted by the ghosts of Hassan and Salim. She yells at them to leave her alone, saying she can't take it anymore. Meanwhile, Fatima tries to reason with Nazir, asking him to forgive Khateja, as she has already suffered enough. But Nazir refuses. Faisal shows up, and Nazir starts hitting him for revealing the family's story to a stranger. Faisal goes home and tells his mother, Hanifa, about it. Hanifa brushes it off, saying it's no big deal as they're family and things will be fine tomorrow. But Faisal remains angry and storms off to his room. Here, we learn that Nazir is Khateja's younger brother, and Hanifa is their youngest sibling. Later, Nazir finds her children's graves, crying in sorrow. He shows no pity, drags her back to the house, and locks her inside. On his way home, he sees a strange figure, but when he looks again, it's gone. Suddenly, he feels like he's standing in a pit surrounded by skeletons. Scared, he tries to run, but the black figure approaches the pit. When Nazir looks again, the figure is gone. Seizing the moment, Nazir tries to escape, but the ghost jumps into the pit, pulling out skeletons. The ghost's face is burned, and it lunges at Nazir. Suddenly, Nazir wakes up. It was all a nightmare, but he can't shake the feeling of the ghost haunting him. Meanwhile, Hanifa is having terrifying illusions in her sleep and wakes up startled. Back to Zainab, who's now on the upper floor, where she first saw the curtain. She removes it and notices the wood beneath it is moving and breathing. Scared, she steps back and falls down the stairs. The next day, Faisal finds her lying near the stairs and informs Fatima. On the other side, Hanifa goes to consult an old woman about her dream, telling her she heard a voice saying, "The time has come." The woman is shocked and warns that the sacrifices were not accepted, and they will all suffer consequences. She pushes Hanifa out of her home in fear. Later that night, Fatima is applying medicine to Zainab's injuries. She notices a strange mark on Zainab's hand and becomes terrified, running outside without explanation. Zainab is left confused by Fatima's reaction. That night, Khateja, now appearing like a ghost, descends from upstairs. Nazir is with her. He forces open Fatima's mouth, and Khateja declares that those who remain silent despite knowing the truth are the real culprits. She then seems to silence Fatima. Fatima wakes up, realizing it was just a nightmare. But what secret is she hiding, friends? We'll find out soon. Later, Zainab drops her phone, and when she bends to pick it up, she sees Salim's ghost. Terrified, she backs away, but he vanishes. Suddenly, behind her, Kemal's ghost is holding Salim and crying over his mistakes. There's a knock at the door, and both ghosts disappear. When Zainab opens it, Fatima is standing there, warning her to leave the village immediately if she values her life. Zainab wants answers, but Fatima isn't willing to share anything and leaves. Meanwhile, Faisal is looking at a picture of his parents when he suddenly sees a dark, tall figure with a terrifying face coming to harm him. Faisal wakes his mother Hanifa, demanding the truth. He shows her the picture and accuses her, saying that they aren't his real parents. Hanifa is stunned, but then she wakes up. Fearing for Faisal, she rushes to his room, where she finds him dead, his body distorted in a shocking manner. Hanifa rushes to Nazir, confessing that she's responsible for the curse on Khateja's family. She admits to using witchcraft on them. Then Nazir asks, "What are you saying, Hanifa?" And here, friends, we see more than one twist in this story. Actually, Hanifa and Kemal's elder brother Hassan loved each other, due to which Hanifa also became pregnant. When she told Khateja about this, she was very happy because she thought that if Hanifa marries Hassan, then she herself will marry Kemal, and then both sisters would become daughters-in-law in the same house. Hanifa also came to know that Khateja loved Kemal, but meanwhile Hassan's eyes fell on Khateja's beauty, and he wanted to get her at any cost, so he cheated on Hanifa and told his parents that he wanted to marry Khateja. Since he was the elder brother, he got married to Khateja. Hanifa was very shocked that Hassan cheated her. Not only this, Faisal is the son of Hanifa and Hassan. Because of Hassan's actions, not only did Kemal lose his love, but Hanifa's love was also snatched away from her. On the day Hassan and Khateja got married, Hanifa wanted to kill both of them, and she knew the same thing would be going through Kemal's mind. She further tells, "So I met Kemal and convinced him that he could get his love back. Then I took Kemal to the witch, who told Kemal that if you want to be happy with Khateja forever, then you will have to sacrifice your first child to a jinn." At that moment, Kemal only wanted to get Khateja back, so he agreed. After that, friends, you all know that Hassan died and Kemal and Khateja got married. Now, what happened here was that Kemal and Keja became happy because they loved each other. But in this whole matter, Hanifa was the loser because she wanted to get both Hassan and Keteja killed. But because of Kemal, only Hassan was killed. Hanifa tells that whenever I used to see Keteja, I would get jealous. So I decided that till my last breath, I would let Keteja bear all the pain and suffering that I am facing. Then, Hanifa convinced Nazir that Keteja was responsible for the death of Kemal, Salim, and Hassan. She was the one who practiced the supernatural. Hearing all this, Nazir is furious, realizing that he's been punishing Keteja for all these years when Hanifa was the true cause of their misery. He confronts Hanifa, asking how many lives she's destroyed. Hanifa also reveals that she recently had a dream where she heard a voice warning that their time had come. The old lady who practiced dark rituals told her that the sacrifice wasn't accepted. Nazir asks, "What sacrifice?" And Fatima, who was listening to them, interjects, explaining that Kemal's first child was supposed to be sacrificed, and that's why he killed Salim. However, Salim wasn't Kemal's son, but Hassan's. Keteja had been pregnant with Hassan's child when Kemal and Keteja got married, but everyone believed Salim was Kemal's son. This revelation shakes Nazir to the core. Now here, Zainab is shown. She again hears a voice from above. She goes upstairs, and now she comes to know the whole truth. A door opens automatically in front of her, and she sees the scene when Keteja's second child was born, who died within a few days. Now, when she looks carefully at that child, she sees the same mark on his hand as on her own hand, which means Zainab is Keteja's second child. After that, another door opens, in which Hanifa is telling Nazir that the reason for all these deaths is Keteja. She has killed them all by using dark rituals. Then another door opens, and the same flashback as Zainab was born, but Nazir, after believing Hanifa, took the child from Keteja's hands and said that the child of a woman like you cannot grow up in this family. On the other hand, Fatima tells Nazir, "I am going to tell Zainab the truth, that Keteja, who is locked in that house, is her mother." Hearing this, Nazir gets shocked and asks, "What are you saying? Is Keteja's daughter also here?" Flashback shows when Nazir had taken Zainab, who was a newborn baby at that time, for burial, but Fatima stopped him, saying, "You will bear the sin of this innocent life on your own head. Don't do it. Give it to me. I will bury her." Nazir also gave that child to Fatima, but Fatima did not kill that child. Instead, she left it near a tree and came back. Meanwhile, a man walking on the road picked up the child. He took her to the city and brought her up there. After knowing the truth, he gets very angry at Fatima, saying, "Why did you keep this truth hidden from me for so many years?" Overcome by rage, Nazir lashed out at Fatima, leading to her tragic end. Then Nazir sees Zainab going somewhere, and Kemal's ghost also comes and says, "Nazir, the sacrifice remains incomplete. You must stop Zainab before it's too late." He hands him a rope, urging him to act. Actually, the old woman had told Kemal to sacrifice his first child to the jinn, but Kemal did not know that Salim was Hassan's son, and he sacrificed Salim. This made the jinn very angry, and he destroyed Kemal's entire family. Now the jinn wants to sacrifice Kemal's first child, who is Zainab. That's why, since childhood, this jinn used to trouble Zainab, and she used to see bad dreams and illusions. Presently here, on the other hand, when Hanifa goes to see the body of her son, Faisal, his ghostly figure appears, and in a chilling turn of events, she meets her fate at his hands. Meanwhile, Zainab follows a voice to the house where Keteja is held. She shows her mark to Keteja and reveals that she's her daughter. Keteja, still in denial, takes Zainab to the place where she believes her daughter was buried, but there's no body. Keteja realizes her daughter isn't dead and that Zainab is indeed her child. Overwhelmed, they embrace for the first time in years. But then Nazir appears, dragging Zainab and preparing to make the final sacrifice. After her death, he is consumed with guilt. Keteja, in a fit of rage, confronts Nazir and ends his life. Holding Zainab's lifeless body, Keteja weeps over her tragic fate. As she walks away, ghosts gather around her. Then, in a surprising turn, Zainab takes a breath, and the story ends. Hope you enjoyed the story, friends. Let me know what you think in the comments.